Hey everyone, Paul Bertorelli reporting for AVweb. I'm flying around with my friend John Mokel in his Turbo Arrow. You know, in case you haven't been around general aviation for 30 years, you may not know, or maybe you forgot, that the first active noise cancellation was introduced by Bose in 1989. And those headsets cost $1,000. And at the time, a few of us in aviation journalism may have written headlines to the effect that $1,000? Are you nuts for a headset? At the time, you could get a good H series David Clark, great headset, very durable, for about $160. So in the intervening 33 years, active noise cancellation has really improved in leaps and bounds. And along the way, Bose got some competition from Lightspeed. And I am wearing the latest iteration of that. It's called the Delta Zulu. It follows on to the popular Zulu 3 active noise cancellation headset, and Lightspeed still has that in the line, and they also have the Sierra, but the Delta Zulu is the latest product, and they're calling it, they're coining a new term called wearable safety. And what that means, among other things, is that the headset has some safety features, one of which is that it has a built-in carbon monoxide detector up in one of the ear cups. And that will alert to the presence of high CO automatically. You don't have to look at any kind of indicators. It's just set up to alert. There is a companion app with this, which you can use to read actual levels. It also has a feature to allow you to tailor the audio performance to suit your own hearing. And the idea is that it will compensate somewhat for hearing loss. And that applies to me because I've been doing this for a while, and I've been exposed to flying airplanes without headsets and motorcycles and firearms and machinery, so I've had a lot of high-frequency hearing loss. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go to the Zoom room, talk to Lightspeed about some of the details. But first, let's just mention here, take a quick look at some of the mechanicals. Physically and mechanically, the Delta is very similar to the previous Zulu. It has the magnesium air cups and has a nice addition of this two-tone copper trim on the top. It has a stainless steel headband with these nice, generous pads, which really make a difference in comfort. And a few years ago, they introduced these braided Kevlar audio cables, which are strong, but they're also tangle-proof. So you don't have to sort out a mess when you just throw it in the bag without storing it correctly. So let's go over and talk to Lightspeed about some of the high-end features of this headset, and then we'll come back on the cockpit.
So here with me in the Zoom room is Teresa Demers of Lightspeed Aviation. Teresa, the active noise canceling headset market has been out there for, as I mentioned in the intro, for 30 years. Lots of people already have headsets. So if you're going to make this thing grow, you got to introduce new products, and that's what the Delta Zulu is. So let's talk a little bit about this concept of a safety wearable, or wearable safety, however you want to say it, and what the thinking was there, and how you think that's gonna fit into the market.
Sure. Well, happy to do that, and thank you for having me and Lightspeed on the program tonight. And so, you are right. Active noise reduction headsets have been around for a while in aviation now. Lightspeed's been doing it for 26 years. There's some others that have been around as long or a little longer. And so the technology of active noise reduction is pretty good. We've all, the top tier players have great active noise reduction, comfortable headsets, lots of great features for audio and Bluetooth and that kind of stuff. And so as we think about what else can we do, several years ago, we started to think about this notion of safety. And as technology, there are emerging technologies that can kind of be integrated into a platform like a headset. We started to really think about sensors and what it would be like to have a sensor monitoring something like carbon monoxide, which can be, as you know, really dangerous in the aviation environment. And what other technology would it take to be able to provide the benefits that a carbon monoxide detector in a headset would provide and how else could we integrate that? And so we started on that, kind of the thinking part of that journey, and then ultimately began designing the product. And so now, as we believe we've sort of created a new category that we have dubbed safety wearables, and so really trying to just elevate what is a fantastic ANR headset to the next level, which is now it's a product that has the potential to save people's lives, certainly to give people warning when maybe there's a dangerous situation in the cockpit that would have up to this point been difficult to detect. And as we know, there have been accidents as a result. So if we can have, prevent at least one of those, we're happy. And actually already, even while we were in beta testing, we had a couple of users that were surprised by the carbon monoxide that was in their flight environment, and had the headsets it was giving them the warnings that it does, and they were able to take action. And who knows what the other outcome could have been, but they credit the Delta Zulu with being really having provided a safety element to their flight. So we're super excited about that. We're happy to bring that.
Now, the headset mechanically is similar to the Zulu 3, but it's been improved somewhat, and there are some changes in there, and maybe some comfort changes as well.
It is, yes, you're right. It's built basically on what we call the platform of a Zulu 3. So it has the things you're familiar with the magnesium cups and the stainless steel headband. There are some changes in the ear cups themselves. We've actually improved the active noise reduction by adding the second set of microphones, which are the feed-forward microphones. So there are some things that you may notice cosmetically as a result of that, but the size is basically the same, and the weight tiny bit heavier than a Zulu 3 actually, but it will feel a lot like a Zulu 3 for someone who's used to wearing one of those.
Now, I noticed there's an extra microphone in there. That's the little hole in the center of the cup is an additional microphone. What does that do?
So that is listening. That's what we call the feed forward microphone. And so it's listening to sounds that are outside the ear cup, as it's entering the ear cup. And then you've got the feedback microphone system, which is typical of an ANR system, inside the cup. And so you actually have two layers of microphones that are listening and predicting sound before that gets into the ear. And then that's what then, all the magic of ANR is then predicting what it is that's going to get into your ear canal, and then creating the anti-noise signals that are, that is the ANR part. So by having that second set of microphones, it's really just adding kind of like an extra doorway, sort of, of being able to anticipate what those ANR signals need to be.
Is it my imagination, or is the ANR a lot more effective? Because when I was wearing this, I noticed that the engine noise was not completely muffled, but it was very much lower. So does this have a higher performance than the previous Zulus?
It is the best ANR we've ever made. And so for people, particularly people who are accustomed to wearing a Zulu 3, they'll notice a difference. I think Zulu 3 is also really good, and Zulu 3, generally people would compare to the Bose A20, and so those two are, kind of at parity, and so Delta Zulu is certainly the best that we've ever made, and so again, people will notice that, but it's not. It's kind of not the thing that we really lead with the headset, because the other, even Sierra has good ANR as well, our entry level price point headset. I think the real reason someone would buy another headset, because as you said, a lot of people have, a hanger full of headsets, is because of the safety aspects and the other feature, which I'm sure we'll talk about, which is what we call hearing EQity.
Yeah, that was my next question. I did take the test, and it did give me a sample that was detectably different than the baseline. I can't say, I didn't fly with enough really to see if it makes any difference in cockpit communications or radio, but it certainly was noticeable. So talk a little bit about, I guess you call it hearing equity or acuity?
Yeah,
Hearing
yeah.
acuity.
Hearing EQity is
Equity.
yeah, it kind of looks like equity when it's spelled
Yeah.
out, and it's a little bit of a play on words of hearing acuity. And so basically, like you did, the person who's going to wear the headset takes a short hearing test. You do that in a quiet environment, in the headset, and you do it through the app on the phone, an iOS device. and it will play 12 tones in your left ear and then 12 in the right ear. And you just use those sliders to until you just barely hear the sound. So if you've ever had a hearing test in an audiology office, it's a lot like that from a hearing test standpoint. It takes about 5 minutes. And then when you're done with that, then as you experience, there's a place right in the app where you can toggle it on and off, and we have some music playing there. I think it's the William Tell Overture, and you can hear the difference between what it's going to sound like with your hearing profile loaded into the headset versus just like a flat profile out of the box. What the headset will do is it compensates for any place where it detected some hearing loss, in certain frequency ranges. So depending on the amount of hearing loss someone has, and they'll see that on their chart as you did in the test, then the more hearing loss you have, the more pronounced of a difference you're going to hear when you do the toggling, because then it's really compensating more. For a young person that might have just super good hearing, they may not hear a big difference because they didn't need some of the compensation. But for people who have medium to moderate to even some pretty substantial hearing loss, it can really make a difference both in the communications, but plus anything else if you're listening to music and stuff too. But certainly we've had enough pilots fly with it now that people who really were having a hard time with ATC transmissions in particular, it makes a huge difference for the clarity that's able to come through. So in another way, safety feature, because you can certainly hear better, but if it also just really enhances the flying experience and may create longevity for people, because as we age, as when our hearing just sort of naturally deteriorates, and so maybe able to provide some longevity for some pilots who were reaching a point where the hearing was becoming more of a challenge. So we're excited about that as well.
Well, it had its hands full with me because I've had quite a bit of high frequency hearing loss, and I'll show the chart, and it's just above about, I think 4,000 hertz, the lines go straight up. And I can certainly hear functionally okay, because I think your brain fills in the gaps there, but it's nice to have a little bit of technological help there to make what you were formerly filling in on the fly to be actually there, or at a frequency where you can actually hear it. What other features do you think, as far as data, this headset might eventually do? Will this feature set expand going forward?
Our goal would be that it would. It's a platform now that was really a clean sheet designed for us that's scalable. So there will be things that we'll be able to add to it in the future, and even the features that are in there now to be able to kind of roadmap some enhancements and some improvements as we go. So so it's exciting to see what the future of this will be. This is like the beginning of a new era, really, for aviation headsets, at least from our perspective.
As far as sales and marketing, is there any kind of a trade-in deal going on here yet?
Well, thank you for asking that. That's such an important part of Lightspeed's kind of history. And there will be eventually, probably by next summer or so, on Delta Zulus. Right now, we're ramping up production and just really pretty much shipping as many as we can, right now, just at the regular pricing. But at some point, there will be a trade-in program.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Teresa. I appreciate it. And now we will go back in the cockpit and talk some more about the headset.
Great, thank you.
So that's the general rundown on the technology in the Zulu. I did run it through the audio test, and a couple of years ago I had my hearing tested by an audiologist who promptly told me I'm a poster child for a guy who needed hearing aids 10 years ago. So I definitely have hearing loss, and this is the result of it. You can see it because the app records it, and I basically have very little high frequency hearing. So the headset adjusts for that, and it allows you to play a little music sample to see the difference. And I did notice a difference. I can't say that it makes a performance difference in the airplane listening to the radio or listening to music on the app, but it certainly is different. One other thing worth mentioning here that I really like about this headset is they've really paid attention to how the battery pack works. On a lot of these headsets, and everybody has had this problem, if it's alkaline powered, which a lot of them are unless they're LEMO and they have dips power. The battery door is an interference fit, and some of them are really hard to get off. And when you do snap it off, it falls on the floor under the seat, and you can't see it. If you're lucky, the batteries don't fall out. But what they've done on the Delta Zulu is these little mechanical positive locks. It's got these little teeth, so that you just squeeze these two tabs and slide it out. Absolutely positive. Easy to slide on and off. And then for the alkaline pack, the alkalines live in this little trap door down at the bottom of the pack, and it slides on just as easily. So no more dropping the thing and losing it and losing the batteries. That's a real plus. And everything on the headset, real high quality fit and finish. Everything is nicely finished, and the fits are just perfect. Now, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that these headsets, the original noise-canceling headsets, were around $1,000, and with every new iteration of these things, and that's probably been more than a dozen of them over the years, they've been right around that price point, $1,000. The Delta Zulu is at $1,100. If you run that back through an inflation calculator, that's about $1989. So as this technology has improved, it's gotten better, and in fact has effectively gotten a little bit cheaper in purchasing power. As I mentioned, the other two headsets are still in the line at Lightspeed. That's the Zulu 3, very good noise canceling headset, and the Sierra, which is a entry-level headset. And you can find out more about this on the Lightspeed site at lightspeedaviation.com. For AVweb, I'm Paul Bertorelli reporting. Thanks for watching.